On 5 News, cracking down on health tourists. Is a new law really the answer? Hospitals must now check patients can pay before treating them. Our health correspondent Catherine Jones investigates. Also, under pressure from all sides, now businesses as well as the courts are challenging Trump's travel ban. One of the survivors of the Tunisia terror attack claims travel agents told him the country was 100% safe. And making history again, the Queen is the first British monarch to reign for 65 years.
The Queen and the royal family are part of my life.
Yeah.
I swore my oath of allegiance to my sovereign lady, the Queen, above all others. And it means something to me and to my comrades.
Hello and welcome to 5 News. I'm Sian Williams. It has become a really controversial subject, people visiting the UK from abroad and getting free treatment on the NHS. Last week we reported on the cost of so-called health tourism after MPs said the system for recovering money was chaotic. Well, today the government told hospitals in England to start charging up front for non-urgent care or else refuse to treat the patient. So how much difference will it make to the health service's huge deficit? Our health correspondent Catherine Jones investigates.
Charging patients who are not eligible for free NHS care has become a politically charged issue. The government's new solution: make them pay up front. At Colchester, a typical district general hospital, the Director of Finance thinks that is achievable, although it won't generate a great deal of extra income.
There was about £108,000 of billing associated with overseas patients, and of that we've got about 15% of that still outstanding. It's about £17,000.
Not a great deal, is it?
Not considering that we're generally an average sized DGH turnover of £270 million. In the context of that, it's not material.
You're not entitled.
But in today's cash-strapped NHS, every penny counts. This recent BBC documentary filmed at St Mary's Hospital in London showed staff with chip and pin card readers chasing up patients who should have paid.
Judge, how much is Judge? It's £800 a day.
I don't know what I can't very sorry.
I understand that, but that's what we have to charge there.
However, critics say the government's focus on this issue is a distraction from the real financial problems the health service is facing.
The government set itself a target to raise about £500 million from overseas visitors. That sounds like a lot of money in any normal sense of the word, it is. But if you bear in mind that it costs £300 million a day just to keep the NHS running, it's about a day and a half of running the NHS.
Any patient that requires accident and emergency treatment will continue to get that for free. But the point at which their care becomes non-urgent and they start paying for it is going to be a doctor's decision. And the fear is that might present some of them with difficult dilemmas.
The boss at Colchester Hospital says to prevent problems, the government's guidance must be clear.
I think that's a really difficult position to put clinicians into, and it's really important that whatever guidance we provide is really tight so we don't put clinicians in that difficult situation in terms of deciding what's emergency. There are some grey areas, but I'm hoping the conversation with the patient, the clinician and whoever is monitoring the scheme will make sure that doesn't happen too often.
Last week, an MP's report described the current system as chaotic. Now, by April, England's hospitals will need to be prepared to take payment before they treat.
Let's talk to Catherine in Colchester now. Cathy, some hospitals will say it's yet more pressure on them. Could this be dealt with more simply?
Well, certainly a completely different approach is also being advocated today, although it's not one that the Health Department is considering. And that would effectively stop the whole problem at our borders instead of at our hospital bedside. And that would be to make it mandatory for people coming to the United Kingdom or applying for a visa to have travel insurance in place before they arrived. It's the approach taken by 26 other European countries and some others, including Turkey and Cuba, for example. And it would mean that bedside conversation wouldn't be about someone going into enormous amounts of personal debt, but just about handing over a travel insurance certificate. Less stress for them, less guilt for the doctor, and far more likely the money would be paid back.
Cathy, thank you. For the third day running, Donald Trump has taken to social media to go on the attack over his controversial travel ban. After condemning a judge at the weekend for blocking it, now he's accused several media organisations of fake news over their reports about the policy. Today, the White House is back in court trying to get the ban reinstated. Here's Julian Drucker.
He signed it 9 days ago. But Donald Trump is now battling to restore the travel ban, which has caused so much division in the United States. A judge overruled a president, suspending the restriction on immigration from 7 mainly Muslim countries. Now, Mr. Trump's lawyers have just hours to respond, but he has already expressed his anger via social media. He tweeted, "Just cannot believe a judge would put our country in such peril. If something happens, blame him and court system. People pouring in. Bad." In the last few hours, he also referenced his low approval rating. "Any negative polls are fake news," he tweeted, just like the CNN, ABC, NBC polls in the election. "Sorry, people want border security and extreme vetting." These people, however, don't.
Donald Trump, who are leading this charge.
Thousands demonstrated outside Trump Plaza at West Palm Beach in Florida. Big crowds have today been joined by big business. Apple, Google, Facebook and Microsoft have filed legal documents arguing the ban is illegal and harms innovation. And for Yemeni brothers Ammar and Tariq Aziz, it meant sleeping on the floor of a foreign airport for days. Today, they had an emotional reunion in Washington, D.C. with their father, a US citizen. The pair were taking an internal US flight when the ban took hold. They alleged they were coerced into signing away their statuses and sent to Ethiopia.
And then he told me your visa has been cancelled. I was like, what? I was like shocked.
Thank you for every single person tried to help me bring my kids back. I'm so happy, I'm so glad, and this is America. America is for everybody.
This is Trump versus the judiciary. His next move is coming imminently. Julian Drucker, 5 News.
A man has pleaded guilty to killing an American tourist in a knife attack in central London last summer. 19-year-old Zakaria Bulhan admitted manslaughter by diminished responsibility. The court heard he was suffering acute paranoid schizophrenia at the time. Darlene Horton died and 5 other people were injured in the attack in Russell Square last August. Stefano Brizzi, the killer who strangled a police officer and tried to dissolve his body in acid, has died in prison. He was a few months into a life sentence for the murder of PC Gordon Semple. The prison service says Brizzi died in Belmarsh in southeast London yesterday and that an investigation is taking place. A British holidaymaker who was caught up in the terrorist attack in Tunisia in 2015 told an inquest today that the travel agent had assured him the resort was 100% safe. Paul Thompson said he and his wife were pushed towards choosing the country. 38 tourists died, including 30 from the UK, when a gunman opened fire on a beach in Sousse. Let's talk to Dominic Reynolds, who joins me now. What was the focus of the inquest today, Dominic?
Right, Sean, well, until today, the focus has been on exactly what happened on that day when those 30 British people, 38 in all, died in Sousse. Now, many heartbreaking stories as we've been hearing from there. But today the focus has switched to exactly what happened before those attacks, how well informed the tourists who were there were about the fact that there was a heightened terror threat in Tunisia at the time because of an attack in Tunis earlier that year. And we heard from Paul Thompson, who was in the resort at the time, and he said when he booked in branch, he was pushed towards Tunisia. He said there were special deals, he was told, and when he asked an agent about safety, he was told this. She said it was a one-off and that it was 100% safe, he said. In fact, one of the travel agents there likened it to if something happened in London, would that stop you going to Skegness? Now, we should say one of the agents who works in that store said that she said nothing of the sort.
What about those who booked online?
Right, so 20 of the 30 people did book online, and that meant that to be informed enough, they would have needed to see Foreign Office guidance like this. And on that page, it specifies that the threat from terror is high. So the manager of TUI, the travel agent's website, was asked how much his website changed when that travel advice changed. He was told it wasn't updated at all.
Dom, thank you. Coming up on 5 News. We hear the shocking but important story of this remarkable woman. Plus, should ministers scrap free childcare? The controversial call to shake up support for families. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back. You're watching 5 News. Now, a story that's very difficult to talk about, but that affects a shocking number of people. As many as 200 million women and girls around the world are believed to have been subjected to female genital mutilation, or FGM. It's often thought of as a problem in other countries, but new figures show that a new case is recorded in England every hour and a half. For this report, which does contain distressing details, our chief correspondent Tessa Chapman has been hearing the story of one survivor.
You kind of felt like you were going to drown any minute. You're going to drown any minute in this pain, and you don't know how to stop it, because however you scream, nobody's going to listen to you, and you're only 6 years old.
This is Hebo Wardair. It's 40 years since she underwent female genital mutilation, or cutting, in Somalia, seen there as preparation for adulthood. Held down and operated on without anaesthetic, it's so vivid in her mind it could have happened yesterday.
I hated the word brave and proud, or being a woman. I hated those words because there was nothing about to be brave or proud or to be a woman. How does a 6-year-old being mutilated become a woman next day? I couldn't figure that one out.
Hebo came to the UK when she was 18 and, like many survivors, has suffered chronic pain, emotional trauma and difficulties during pregnancy.
Anyone know what that means? Female genital mutilation, anyone heard of it?
At this school in North London, they're teaching students about it. FGM is most common in Africa, Asia and the Middle East, but it's an issue here too. New statistics show 120,000 women here have been affected. Some children are being sent abroad for the procedure. It's thought sometimes it's even being carried out here.
We have been training lots of NHS staff, and they tell us that they are seeing many cases of FGM, but people are very reluctant to report this because they're frightened of getting their parents into trouble. But actually what we're looking at is the cutters, the people that are actually performing this barbaric act. If they're the ones that we can report, if they can be reported to the police, then they're the ones that can make a difference.
For Hebo, it's about changing entrenched attitudes. She has daughters herself and hopes by speaking out, she's helping.
For them to know that, yes, your mom has undergone this, but you are never. It's breaking the cycle for them. I broke the cycle for them, and that was always in my head, that any child of mine never going to experience this, and I got that wish in UK.
And now Hebo wants to break that cycle for all young girls, to eradicate the practice that has blighted her life.
Tessa, it really is shocking, isn't it? What are the authorities doing about it?
There are strict laws. It has been illegal to carry out FGM in the UK since 1985, and there are new measures that mean that police, doctors and teachers have to report if they believe that a girl is about to undergo FGM or has undergone the procedure. But there has not been a single successful prosecution. Campaigners say that there needs to be more in terms of investment in law enforcement and investment in education, so today's youngsters see the practice as completely unacceptable. One area there is progress, though, is the fact we are discussing this on TV, the fact it's being broached in schools. Awareness is being raised, and that is surely a vital step.
Indeed. Thanks, Tessa. In the last hour, the Speaker of the House of Commons, John Bercow, has said Donald Trump shouldn't be allowed to speak in Parliament. In a passionate speech, he said although it wasn't for him to say whether the President should be given a state visit, he won't approve an invitation to give an address to MPs and Lords.
Before the imposition of the migrant ban, I would myself have been strongly opposed to an address by President Trump in Westminster Hall. After the imposition of the migrant ban by President Trump, I am even more strongly opposed to an address by President Trump in Westminster Hall.
Now, is it right that every family in Britain gets money towards childcare? At the moment they do, but one group of economists says it's actually counterproductive because it doesn't do enough to help those most in need and it drives up prices for everyone else. But what do families and nursery providers think? Peter Lane found out.
Come on then.
Ask families if they'd happily say goodbye to the idea of free childcare places for all, and the response is not surprising.
To have any help would be fantastic, and if they take that away, you know, it will mean a difference to me working long term.
I think if we were to take it away, that would be a backward step for our society.
What's wrong with it? Would be my question. Why not give it to everybody to make it universal?
Well, the Institute of Economic Affairs, advocates of minimal government role in our lives, say what's wrong with it is an over-regulated system which pushes up prices, leaving many average families spending more than a third of their net income on childcare. They say the government should abolish free places for all and focus on helping disadvantaged families, should scrap the tax-free childcare scheme in favour of supporting unemployed parents and part-time workers, and should relax the rules on child staff ratios and qualifications to provide more options for parents.
What we've got at the moment is a bizarre mix of subsidies which don't really aim at the people who are actually in need. Some parents pay more, whereas other parents who can afford to pay get it free. So I think the whole thing is a mess, actually, at the moment.
The industry says free, or to be more accurate, state-funded hours do work, but are being over-expanded, leaving nurseries to plug the gap.
Where we have the issue is the government investment in delivering that free childcare, because there is a mismatch between the cost of childcare and what the government is providing, and that's what we want the government to really look at, rather than actually reinventing the wheel and scrap the universal free childcare.
For its part, the government says it'll invest a record £6 billion a year in childcare by 2020, supporting working and disadvantaged families, adding, "We make no apologies for regulations which keep children safe and well." Peter Lane, 5 News.
Alistair Cook has resigned as captain of the England cricket team after a record 59 matches in charge. The 32-year-old led the team to 2 Ashes victories over Australia, the most recent in 2015. He says stepping down was an incredibly hard decision, but one that's right for him and the team. Finally, the Queen is marking her latest extraordinary milestone today, the first British monarch to reach a sapphire jubilee, and that's 65 years, by the way. For the occasion, this photograph has been reissued of the Queen wearing her sapphire jewellery. Poignantly, it was given to her by her father as a wedding gift 5 years before his death elevated her to the throne. Our royal correspondent Simon Vigar reports.
In Green Park, beside Buckingham Palace, the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery formed up to mark yet another record. A 21-gun salute, plus another 20 for good measure, because it's in a royal park. The loudest and most public demonstration of thanks for 65 years on the throne. A sapphire jubilee.
I think she's absolutely brilliant. First of all, her age 90, to do what she does.
I thought it was pretty cool. Like, it was really interesting to see the first time of like cannons firing.
When I sort of come to them, I always come out in goosebumps. It's just that feeling, you know.
The Queen and the royal family are part of my life. Yeah. I swore my oath of allegiance to my sovereign lady, the Queen, above all others. And it means something to me and to my comrades.
This is the Queen yesterday at Sandringham, fully recovered from her Christmas cold. Today is Accession Day, and it's not a celebration for the Queen. This is the day her father died in 1952. King George VI had waved off Princess Elizabeth on a Commonwealth tour at the end of January, and just a week later he died in his sleep at Sandringham. The Princess returned as Queen Elizabeth II. She was 25 years old. For the Sapphire Jubilee, the palace has re-released this David Bailey portrait of the Queen wearing sapphires, given to her as a wedding gift by her father. As is tradition, she has spent today privately at Sandringham, walking the dogs and seeing her horses. William and Kate were out and about today, and they will take on full-time royal duties in the summer, taking some more of the workload from the Queen, but not all of it, not by a long way.
She's given up some of her patronages, but she's still got 600 left, and she's not doing long overseas travel anymore. She's had enough of that. But, you know, she's got a busy programme this year. You know, she's doing many events. You know, normally, you know, Chelsea, she'll be at the Derby, you know, which things she wouldn't miss. And even if Donald Trump comes that week, she'll still leave him and go to the Derby, whatever happens.
Yes, state visits involve gun salutes too, but none as poignant as today's. The King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery is named after one king in particular, George VI, the Queen's father. Simon Viger, 5 News.
The Queen's Sapphire Jubilee today. Well, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and Prince Harry have also been busy with official duties. Find out what happened yesterday as Harry gave me a royal hug. Still recovering. Full videos on our Facebook page. Just search for C5 News. Before we go, Matt's here to tell us what's coming up on 5 News tonight. Hello there.
Nice outfit, Sian. You were running, weren't you?
I was.
Anyway, we've got a special programme this evening. Our Sapphire Queen is what it's called. We'll take a look back at Her Majesty's historic reign from her accession to the throne as a young woman to today's milestone. We'll be hearing from experts on what she's done for the royal family, including Arthur Edwards, who we just saw, and also what she's done for the country. We'll also be looking at that blackmail plot that threatened David Beckham's image after his private emails were apparently released online. All that and more at 6:30.
Look forward to it. Thank you very much, Matt. That is it for us, though. Claire Nazir has the weather for you next. I'll see you again tomorrow at 5. Matt back at 6:30. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.